Hey everybody, this is Sam with Wrestling Overtime, and before we get to our AEW Dynamite review, I want to make sure that I go ahead and tell all of you that March 1st we will be going daily. We will have 3 different kinds of shows. We will have a results show that will be just the facts. It'll be quick and easy, who beat who, and if any storylines got moved at all. 2, we will have a daily updates, stories, rumors, just basic what's in the news, what's in the dirt sheets, what we've heard on podcasts show. It will be anywhere from 5 minutes to probably about 45. Going to try to keep it under 45. I know that some days it's only going to be 10 or 15. And we're going to hit the big stories. And then, of course, we're going to have our review podcast where they're going to be around an hour in length, and they're going to go over each show as far as in a little bit in detail, and you guys will get to hear my rants and vents and things that I want to do. And since today is a review show, we are going to be reviewing AEW Dynamite coming to you from Austin, Texas. It was February 12th, 2020. And for those of you who are wanting to reach us, don't forget to hit us up at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com or Wrestling Overtime on Twitter or Facebook. On Facebook, of course, you can get all the latest stories from all the different sites and our podcasts. But we want to start off with AEW. They did a quick flashback on what happened last week as far as if someone missed Cody's lashings or anything like that. They just did a real quick, it was probably 2 minutes long flashback to what happened last week. And they start the show off with SCU and Hangman Page and Kenny Omega already in the ring, and Justin Roberts is starting to announce it, that it's a rematch for the tag titles. And then, of course, as soon as the bell rings and the match gets ready to start, the Dark Order pop up on the screen. They want to wish everyone good luck, especially Christopher Daniels and SCU, and they want to say that they are preparing for the Exalted One to come very, very soon. Christopher Daniels leaves the scene to kind of go investigate. He immediately goes running up the ramp, and I'm thinking, what is he doing? Why is he leaving SCU? And why is he going to go try to investigate this matter, basically alone without any backup? I hope he finds the Young Bucks back there and takes them with him or something. But anyway, Omega and Hangman, with this match, I was pretty excited. They've gotten so much better as a team, and you can tell that they've really been working together because they've developed a lot of different tag moves together. As far as, one of them picking somebody up and somebody jumping off the top rope, or, them swinging somebody off the ropes and doing an actual tag team move. This is pretty impressive to me. They've really only been working together for, about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, as a tag team. They've held the belt, they said, for 22 days. So I was kind of hanging in there with them as far as, them getting better. This was an exciting, fast-paced match with not a lot of laying around. Now, a little bit towards the end they did, but I hate tag team matches where, they beat up one of the tag team members and it's like they lay in the corner or they lay outside the ring for 20 minutes, and you can see as the camera flashes on them or they're caught in a shot or whatever that they're just kind of hanging out. They didn't do that with this match. This match was pretty exciting. It was pretty fast paced, and like I said, until the end where it made sense, and SCU at one point drilled Hangman Page over in the ropes and then kind of tag team and put Kenny Omega in their corner and was taking it to him, and Kenny crawled over to make a tag and Hangman wasn't there. It made sense. It wasn't happening all the time. Kenny, of course, did a little too much crowd showboating for my taste. I understand that that's his style, and he's all the time trying to fire up the crowd and everything. And I think a lot of that comes from him being over in New Japan. He, can't obviously talk over there when he was first over there. I know he knows Japanese now, but he was having to pump up crowds over there with his actions. And I think that he's doing a lot of that in AEW. I'm just not used to it. So to me, it's, I don't know, kind of showboating, I don't know. I just can't get into it. I loved the double cutters by SCU. But Hangman and Kenny do their finishers both at the same time, and they pick up the win. Immediately, Hangman rolls out of the ring to go drink beer with the fans, and he's headed back through the crowd. We actually, I don't know, we don't really see Kenny Omega, but making the assumption that he also left because we didn't see him back. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but SCU was still in the ring. They were kind of acting tired, acting like they were disappointed over their loss when the Dark Order comes out. And, of course, they surround the ring, and we see the Best Friends run out to join SCU. And I am immediately wondering, where's Orange Cassidy? I know he doesn't run, but where's Orange Cassidy? But anyway, we then see the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny come out, and we see Hybrid 2. Now, let's talk just a second about Hybrid 2. Jack Evans and Angelico. I really have never known whether they were baby faces or heels, but they're standing outside the ring with the Dark Order, with the Bunny, the Butcher, and the Blade. So I'm gonna make the assumption they're heels, because I don't think that they've ever had any issues with SCU or the Best Friends. I mean, they've taken them on before, but I don't think that they've had any issues with them. If they have, and you know about this, hit me up, like I said, on wrestlingovertime@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, but I don't think so. So anyway, then we get the Young Bucks sliding into the ring with SCU, and basically a melee begins. And the Young Bucks pretty much clear the ring. During commercial, they do picture-in-picture during this commercial, and we see Stu Grayson and Evil Uno kind of walking backwards up the ramp, and they go to turn around, and Orange Cassidy is there. Gotta love Orange Cassidy. He puts his hands in his pockets, and they go to turn around to head back to the ring to get away from Orange Cassidy, and the Bucks super kick him. So then we have the Young Bucks, Best Friends, and Orange Cassidy. They all get back in the ring, and they do the Orange Cassidy kicks, and the Best Friends hug. Well, wait a minute. They all came out to help SCU. Where's SCU? Where's Kenny Omega? How come Kenny Omega didn't come back? He is friends with the Bucks. He's also in the past been friends with SCU. They work in AEW as executive vice presidents, so why wouldn't Kenny Omega come back out and help? He didn't. And when they're doing the stupid best friends hug and they're doing the Orange Cassidy kicks and everything, where is SCU? Did SCU get beat up so bad? And they don't follow up with this. They don't follow up with, Hangman leaving. They don't follow up with where did SCU go? They didn't follow up, did Christopher Daniels ever find the Dark Order? Because we don't see any flashes of him being tied up or him being lost or him looking for him or anything like that. So what's up? Why did the Dark Order come out and Christopher Daniels didn't come out? So a lot of mysteries there, or AEW dropped the ball on this storyline. Not real sure. I'm not real into the storyline with the Dark Order. Like I've said on other podcasts, these guys, their masks are awful. Don't understand what's going on. And I know part of that is the point that it's a cult and we don't understand it, and we've got to wait for the Exalted One to get here to explain it. But yeah, it's not reeling me in. The Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, they've never really explained them either, so I'm not into them at all. Hybrid 2, like I said, I didn't even know they were heels. They basically just come out and dance and do some flippity-floppy moves and then get beat. So I'm not into these guys. I could really care less unless they swerve us and Christopher Daniels ends up being the leader of this group and he's been, controlling this all along. Then I might get interested. The fallen angel being the Exalted One. Yeah, I might be able to get into that. So then the announcers start off talking about Nyla Rose and Riho for the title, and then how later they're going to have MJF with Wardlow versus Jungle Boy. And then they talk up the revenge match, the eye for an eye match that we're going to see Jon Moxley versus Santana. And they then proceed to basically preview and announced that JR earlier today sat down with Santana, and they show Santana, he's in sunglasses, and he starts talking about how one time, like 10 years ago, he felt like he was living in the darkness and that he was in depression, that he didn't know where to go. He felt like he was lost. He called his dad at 3:30 in the morning, and of course his dad answered. He said he always could count on him. He knew he was going to answer. And he started to talk to him, and he realized that his dad was in darkness too. So Santana reveals that starting about age 14, his dad started going blind, and the doctors told him he would be blind by the age of 25. And so Santana feels like during those years that he basically lost his father because his father was in the darkness. So JR, being JR, has to ask, well, didn't Jericho do this first to Moxley? Didn't he put him in the dark? And Santana says, well, no. Jericho gave him a huge opportunity to join the Inner Circle, and Moxley made his choice. He basically built his own coffin and will be living in the dark after tonight. And it wasn't a bad interview. It wasn't a bad promo. I was expecting Santana to get a little more excited, but he didn't. So it gave me a little bit more insight on where Santana come from and his backstory and the reasons why he's doing what he's doing. And then they go back to the announcers in the now live, and they say that they've received another cryptic video from Darby Allin, and they play the video. We see a skateboard, and we hear Darby coughing. Matter of fact, we hear Darby coughing all through this video. He never speaks. He uses Sammy's looks like cardboard signs. I know Sammy's is our poster board, but it almost looks like Darby has taken the tops of pizza boxes and wrote on them and used them for his cards. And he says, "Smashing my throat with a skateboard. You made a mistake. Sooner or later I'll find you. But in the meantime, Sammy, you busy at Revolution? Hit me up." And then we hear Darby coughing and the video ends. And it was pretty interesting. They kind of show a little bit of a flashback of them, hurting Darby, and then we hear, Sammy's music hit. And Sammy Guevara comes out with Jake Hager, and he is showing off his new merchandise. And basically, it is a Spanish god holding up a little sign that says, "Hit me up." Am I going to buy this shirt? No. The Spanish god looks, I don't know, a little weird. It's not Sammy. Now, maybe if it had been a picture of Sammy being a Spanish god, I might have thought about it. Because it's a funny shirt. But, yeah, it's not a shirt that I really want to wear out and about. So, yeah, not buying this one. Cute shirt, though. But anyway, Dustin comes out afterwards, and he immediately kind of goes on the offensive. He gets his offensive flurry going, and Sammy rolls out of the ring and grabs Jake basically to leave. He's talking to Jake and basically saying, we just need to get out of this match, and I'm out of here. Dustin flies off the steps to take Sammy out. Jake Hager actually backs up so that he doesn't get hit. He must have saw him out of the corner of his eye. But of course, Sammy didn't, so Sammy took it full force, and Dustin started confronting Jake Hager and basically yelling at him. So they get back in the ring, and as they do, Jake Hager climbs up on the ring ropes and kind of interferes by grabbing Dustin's legs. So Sammy goes on the offensive, does a couple, moves of his aerial assault and also of him trying some new power moves. But as he's running at Dustin just, does his slam on him. Does basically the German belly-to-belly suplex. And Dustin hits the final reckoning for the win. After that, as Sammy and Jake are headed up the ramp, Dustin grabs the mic and asks Jake Hager if he's ever gonna step in the ring, or is he basically just collecting a paycheck? He makes a comment that he's a failure in Bellator and that he basically doesn't want to get in the ring here. And I don't know. I know that Dustin made that comment. He's in his hometown, he's in his home state, and everybody is cheering. But Jake Hager's not really a failure in Bellator. He's undefeated. And I mean, I know he's from Oklahoma and everybody's having fun, cheering for Dustin, but I don't know, a little ridiculous. But then Dustin, of course, challenges him to a match at Revolution. And if Jake Hager actually accepts this, it'll be his first match. So, kind of looking forward to this. Kind of glad that this match happened. Would like to see Jake Hager and Dustin put on a good match. I haven't seen Jake Hager wrestle in a while, but still hoping that he can. Of course, then we have to show a quick flashback of Britt Baker's attack on Yuka, and they give an update that Yuka is looking at months of oral surgery due to Baker's attack and her knocking out her teeth or taking out her teeth. So Tony Schiavone brings Britt Baker out for an interview, and Dr. Britt Baker strides out all smiles, and of course Tony has to ask her right off the bat, you're a doctor, why or how, I guess, can you justify hurting Yuka in this manner? So, Baker pretty much just interrupts him and says that she was improving her oral health because Yuka had an abscessed tooth that needed to come out and that some of her other teeth were rotting, and so she was just kind of helping her. Tony asks her about the upcoming women's match that they have later tonight, about Nyla Rose and Riho. And being the typical heel, Baker responds that she's still the best in AEW. And then, of course, she has to insult the crowd by throwing up the horns and then doing horns down to the Texas crowd. So, again, they flash back to October 2nd, 2019, when Riho, in the original championship match, defeat Nyla Rose. And then they kind of go into how Nyla attacked a couple different wrestlers, attacked a referee. She ended up getting suspended until the beginning of the year, and that now she is wanting her rematch. And of course, how she attacked Riho last week for Pac while he was yelling at Kenny Omega. So, I don't know how I feel about this match because, of course, Riho has been a part-time champion. She has been almost as bad as Brock Lesnar in the WWE because she keeps going back to Japan to wrestle and, basically go home. I understand that she's only 22 years old, but I feel like if she wants to be a primetime player here in AEW, then she needs to be here. She needs to be making a difference. She needs to take part in the storylines like Britt Baker. I also understand that she's one of Kenny Omega's favorite Joshi wrestlers, and that he's wanting to do some mixed tag team matches with her. But again, she's got to kind of stay here, They talk about how she's been wrestling for 13 years, that she started when she was 9 years old, and that she is a very accomplished wrestler. I don't know. I can't really take her serious. They keep mentioning that she's somewhere between 93 and 98 pounds. That's why it's so hard for me to take her seriously. I can't see her actually getting the momentum to knock Britt Baker down, let alone Nyla Rose. So it's weird to me. So I don't really know where I stand on this. Now, this was a good basic David versus Goliath match. There were a lot of back and forth, and both sold really well for each other, especially Nyla selling for Riho. and making it look like Riho was getting the best of her when she was getting some offense. But Nyla ends up winning. I mean, she spears her, and then she basically tries to powerbomb Riho through the match. And we get a new champ. And then they do another picture-in-picture during commercial of the celebration of Nyla Rose, holding up the belt for the crowd for walking up the ramp. Halfway up the ramp, she squats down, and you can tell she's overcome with emotion and is excited. We see Tony Khan coming up and congratulating her and then hugging her. And then we see her kind of confront Kenny Omega, who is over the women's division. He is the vice president in charge of the women's division. Like I said, everyone knows that Riho is one of his favorites. So it's obvious that they're exchanging some words, probably about Riho, but I hate it that it's during commercial. We're not hearing it. We see the rest of the women's division basically looking on and trying to listen in, and we see them nodding their heads when Kenny says stuff. So I guess we're to assume, especially Big Swole is on Kenny Omega's side. However, you kind of see Britt Baker off to the side, and we're not real sure where she's standing. Then they come back from commercial, and automatically, instead of explaining what happened during the commercial, what Kenny and Nyla said, we just go to an interview with the Inner Circle. We've got Jericho and Santana standing there, and then we've got Jake Hager and Ortiz kind of standing in the back. And she starts off talking to Jericho, and of course Jericho has to interrupt and say, call me Mr. Jericho. And he talks about how he wanted to announce some big news for next week. He has basically hired an assassin, a person who is going to destroy Moxley next week if he gets by Santana tonight. Well, of course, as soon as he says that, we know Moxley's going to win. We know Moxley is not going to be injured. We know Moxley is not going to have any problems or anything because they're already setting up next week. Come on, AEW, you and Chris Jericho are smarter than this. This is a WWE thing, and I don't want you guys pulling that. He announces Jeff Cobb from Ring of Honor is basically going to show up. They show a video package that they've obviously already cut with Jeff Cobb. Now, Jeff Cobb has been all over the world wrestling for different companies. The only place, like I said, I've seen him really is Ring of Honor. To me, he halfway looks homeless. He's humongous. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that in a fat way. He wears his hair all wet and gross and nasty. Looks like it hasn't been washed in years. Looks like a big greasy, nasty mess. So, not real impressed with this. Totally get that he's a hired gun for the Inner Circle because he definitely does not fit in with them. You've got Jericho dressing to the nines, and Sammy Guevara has upped his game and is dressing better. You've got Jake Hager, in his slacks and polo, and then you've got a nasty mess joining them. Yeah, I'm not buying it. There are rumors out there that Jeff Cobb may not sign long-term with AEW, and that's fine with me. He can go back to Japan and have his fun. I don't know, it's kind of crazy. So they immediately, right after that, go back to the flashback of Cody's lashings by MJF. and then MJF hitting him with a low blow and running up through the crowd to get away. So that leads up to Brandy Rhodes joining the announcers table, and how she basically is just dreading seeing Cody go into the first steel cage match that AEW is going to put on with Wardlow because of that flashback. She says, did you see Wardlow take the belt away on the ninth lashing and just nail Cody? She even says that it's one of the hardest hits that she has seen. And so she's selling this Wardlow Cody steel cage match pretty good, because she actually legitimately scared that Cody may not make it out, basically. They invite her to stay for the MJF Jungle Boy match, and of course she decides that she will. JR says that he will protect her no matter what, and I'm thinking, JR, you're almost 70 years old. I'm thinking Brandy can probably handle herself with her high heels, kicking MJF better than you can. But anyway, MJF comes out, makes a big deal about his diamond ring, as always, and then proceeds to take it off, hand it to Wardlow, and says, "Hey, buddy, I'm giving you the night off." So he continues down to the ring alone. He is playing up to the crowd. They show him during commercial, greeting the crowd, getting booed, people shaking their fists at him and everything. MJF is the ultimate heel in AEW, and it just makes me love him even more. Of course, we see Jungle Boy come out on Luchasaurus's shoulders, and we see Marco Stunt do their thing, but they put him down, and Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt go back to the back. So it's Jungle Boy versus MJF alone. And they make a big deal what I've been making a big deal about on this podcast. Here is the future of wrestling. Jungle Boy's 22 years old. MJF is 23 years old. And we are seeing them. And this, I can't say anything else, but it's an excellent match. I mean, we've even got MJF doing the Ric Flair walk and showing off to the crowd after, one move that he hits Jungle Boy with. They are showing off Jungle Boy's athleticism, his quickness. MJF is trying to show off his power and how he can compete with athleticism with Jungle Boy. We see a lot of nice moves from both of them. And like I said, I am looking forward to the next 10 years with these two. They are going to be some great rivals, and we're going to see some great matches. They should be put up against each other for, like I said, the next 10 years, just going back and forth. It should be this generation's John Cena and Randy Orton going up against each other, or Brock Lesnar and that crew. But anyway, we see Jungle Boy get hit and his lower back starts spasming, which causes him to drop MJF during a lift. Now, why Jungle Boy is lifting MJF, not real sure, but he does sell that pretty well, so MJF starts capitalizing on it. And at one point, when Jungle Boy is up on the top of the ropes, we see MJF just basically haul off and kick him in the lower back. And when he does, he yells at Brandy so loud that, the whole entire crowd can hear him, that she could have had a real man. And JR immediately starts taking up for Brandley, saying that MJF better not come up here and he can't say that kind of stuff to Brandy and blah, 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 blah. Well, JR, you're not yelling. And let me let you in on a little secret, JR. MJF can't hear you. You're talking into a microphone. You're talking to us, the TV crowd. No one else can hear you. So MJF could care less. But we immediately see Wardlow coming out. And Jungle Boy is talking to the ref, so MJF gets his ring from Wardlow, hauls off and hits Jungle Boy, basically just clocks him. And then, as the referee is checking on Jungle Boy, hands the ring back to Wardlow, and MJF wins. Then Wardlow throws Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus has to run in basically to save him, and Wardlow and MJF leave. Now, it was an interesting thing. Brandy makes a comment that she believes when MJF yelled that at her that it was a signal for Wardlow to come in. It had nothing to do with her, that was just a signal for Wardlow to come in. If it was, that's a pretty good signal. I think that's kind of cool. Then they showed a video package of Pac training for Kenny Omega. And he also starts talking about how Omega has had nothing but problems. Losing, getting his friends beat up. And it's all because Pac choked him out. And how he cannot wait to take him on in, the 30-minute Iron Man match, and how he believes that Kenny is scared of him. So they take this time to kind of preview what's coming up. And as an AEW fan, or someone that's just following wrestling, kind of seeing if they're a better product than WWE, you can't help but get excited about them previewing this. Next week they're going to be in Atlanta, and they've got the first steel cage match, and they've got Cody going against Wardlow, and he has to beat Wardlow in order to get to MJF. They've got a tag team battle royal, and whoever wins it gets a title shot at Revolution. And then they've got the tag team championships on the line. They've got the Lucha Brothers taking on Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. So just next week, they've got a heck of a card already, and that's not even the whole card. But then they go a step further, and they say in 2 weeks, we'll be in in Kansas City, and we're going to get the 30-minute Iron Man match of Pac versus Kenny Omega. And then in 3 weeks, we get Revolution in Chicago, and how they've already signed Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager. We know that there is going to be a tag team championship match with whoever is the tag team champions, either the Lucha Brothers or Omega and Page, against the winner of the Battle Royal. And then we're going to get the World Championship on display with Jericho versus Moxley. And we may, if Cody wins next week against Wardlow, we may be getting Cody versus MJF. That's a heck of a pay-per-view. And I hope that they're making Revolution one of their standard pay-per-views. I don't know. They say they're going to have 4 a year. I'm assuming Revolution is going to start it off, and then we're going to see Double or Nothing on Memorial Day weekend. But then we get Jericho's music hitting. And we see him and Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager and Chris Jericho. And we see them walking to their sweet box to watch the match. And again, this week, as they're playing Jericho's music and they slowly and deliberately turn it down to turn it off, we hear the crowd singing Jericho's theme in the arena, and it is loud. So, getting interested in this. So, can't wait for the Santana and Moxley match. So, of course, next we see Santana and Ortiz's music hit and them come to the ring. We see that Santana has his eye patch on, and of course, it is the flag. And then immediately we hear Moxley's music hit. And of course, he comes in from the concourse and basically goes through the crowd. He is getting a reaction like a babyface, but we all know that Moxley has it in him to basically be a heel. So he's kind of acting half and half. He's like that Steve Austin character, Stone Cold Steve Austin, that people love that he's a heel. And so I just love this. They show Jericho with his bottle of bubbly, and they have a stare down. You know, Moxley is staring at Jericho, and Jericho is staring at him. And then Moxley goes to jump the barrier to go get in the ring, and Santana just jumps him. The bell didn't ring, so anything is going, and they just start brawling. I kind of figured that Ortiz would get involved here. He is carrying his baseball bag that he's got tied up that he hits people with. So I was expecting him to hit Moxley with that. And they pretty quickly get in the ring so that the bell can ring and get the match started. So the announcers tell us that it's been 457 days since Santana's last singles match. And this match becomes basically a brawling match with some wrestling moves kind of thrown in. Now, we all know that Moxley can wrestle when he wants to, and Santana can wrestle when they want to. But I like how they basically made this a brawl. These two are from the streets, and they are playing that up by just basically welling on each other. And so I was enjoying this. Santana gets a lot of the offense. He is really taking it to Moxley, and of course Ortiz tries to interfere, but Moxley throws Santana into him. So then Moxley hits him with an awesome clothesline, and basically flips Santana. And so as Moxley is climbing up the ring post, Ortiz has a flask, and we're going to make the assumption it has alcohol in it. He spits it in the good eye of Moxley, and Moxley falls down. It's fairly obvious that from Moxley's actions that he can't see. He is feeling around. He's digging at his eye, trying to wipe his eye, and he is trying to see. So Moxley scoots over almost into the corner to get his bearings, I guess, where he's at in the ring, and Santana hits him with a cannonball, and then frog splashes him. And I think, they are actually going to let Santana win this match. So Moxley is stumbling around, and Santana goes to get up behind him and gets too close to him where Moxley can feel him, and Moxley grabs him, finds his eye, and just thumbs him in his eye. So Santana now can't see. And he is, stumbling around and throwing his arms around. So Moxley again finds him and gets him into the paradigm shift and does hit on him for the win. Right after, Ortiz jumps into the ring basically to beat on Moxley, and he is digging into Moxley's eye when Jake Hager and Sammy run down through the crowd to start choking him. Then Ortiz starts beating him with the baseball bag. We knew that Ortiz was going to use that baseball bag on him. He's carrying it around for a reason. And Sammy comes off the top rope and hits him, and then Jericho ends up hitting him with his belt. And then they pick Moxley up, hold him, so that Jericho can hit him with the Judas effect. And then he covers him with his foot while the crowd and the inner circle count 1, 2, 3, and then calls out Jeff Cobb. And so we actually get to meet Jeff Cobb tonight. We actually get to see him, and he power slams him. They're calling it the Tour of the Islands, and that's how the show goes off. I know a lot of you online are excited about Jeff Cobb. I'm really not. I didn't think he was needed. I think Jericho and Moxley can carry this on its own. I don't feel like Moxley has any friends for Jeff Cobb to get involved with. So, did AEW just bring him in for, I don't know, a couple month tryout to kind of see if he can get over, and if he can't, to send him on his way? I kind of hope so. And I hope that if he gets over, then he gets to stay. And I hope that if he is awful, like I suspect him to be, and the crowd not to take to him, that he goes away. I thought this was a pretty good AEW show. It wasn't as good as last week. I'm not sure that it could have been. So it was a little bit of a letdown. It's not going to be as good as next week's, but it was a good kind of middle match. And we have a middle show. We have another one of those. We have a full card for next week that's going to be an awesome, unbelievable show like last week's. And then we're going to have another middle show, kind of like this week. And then we're going to get our pay-per-view Revolution. So I'm interested in seeing what they do with that next middle show. But anyway, like I said, fairly good show. Can't wait to talk to you guys again about AEW next week. I am looking forward to it. If you guys got any questions, comments, problems, or protests, hit me up on wrestlingovertime@gmail.com or on Facebook and Twitter. And I can't wait to see you guys soon.